Welcome to Fox 55's Fastlane.
Good morning and thanks for joining us on Fox 55's Fastlane, the area's only local racing show. I'm Bryon Graff alongside, as always, Jana Wimmer. Curt Keene will join us in just a bit with Keene Observations, and Scott Wimmer, as always, has this week's tech tips.
During this half hour, we'll take a look back at this week's racing and a look ahead to a big week of racing coming up.
Let's kick off the show with a recap of the Ropa's Pizza 60 at State Park Speedway on Thursday night. Jana, take it away.
It's the Ropa's Pizza 60 at State Park Speedway. Jeremy Lepak gets out to the early lead, and MG Gajewski settles back into second place. Mark Mackesy and Mike Olson side by side for third. That battle continues. They continue to race side by side until Mackesy on that outside lane makes it work. He gets around Olson and is up to third. Here's a battle for fourth. Chris Weinkauf and his car owner, Jay Vandergeest. Little contact, but there's Weinkauf on the inside. He's up to fourth. Weinkauf, of course, the fast qualifier in the night. He's on the move. Mackesy about loses it off of turn 2. Weinkauf goes by on the high side, and Vandergeest follows right on through. But as the laps wound down, Vandergeest fought back. He's back inside of Weinkauf and up into third. Ryan Hinner, he'll follow through into fourth. And then here's a battle for fifth late in the race. That's Travis Volm. He's to the inside of Chris Weinkauf, and he's up into the top 5. But it was the Jeremy Lepak show. He was up front all night. He kept a steady distance in front of MG Gajewski to take the checkered flag and win his second straight race at State Park Speedway.
Unreal to start a season like that, so that's pretty cool. A lot of hard work getting this car put back together after end of last year. So it's been a lot of hard work paying off. So it's really good. It's got a good balance tonight. A lot better balance than when we won the first week. We changed you wouldn't have believed it, but the shop was a disaster this week. We had the whole front end tore off the thing, so we changed a lot of stuff tonight, and I think we had a lot better balance.
Mother Nature has not been very cooperative so far this season. Marshfield was forced to cancel races on May 29th due to weather, and Golden Sands Speedway rescheduled its Dick Trickle Memorial Race, and that was supposed to be run on Memorial Day. Instead, it is rescheduled for this afternoon.
And we've talked a little bit about the unique setup for this event, where there were 5 team captains who drafted, yes, in an actual draft, 6 drivers onto their race teams. The results will not be individual, but they'll be a combined team effort. We talked with some drivers to get their opinion on this original format.
It's funny, you're not racing everybody, you're racing the guys in your bracket. So I think it's going to be a little distracting, and the biggest thing is you just got to go for the checkered and try to put the thing out front every segment, qualifying the heat race and the feature, and hopefully we can come up on top.
It's interesting. It's an interesting concept, but I'm a little nervous about it. I don't know how I'm going to gel with the other guys. Some of them I've never really talked to, so that's going to be kind of different. It's going to be fun.
Of course, we're looking forward to seeing that race, and we will bring you highlights and reaction from the Dick Trickle Memorial Race at Golden Sands on next week's edition of Fox 55's Fastlane.
Speaking of memorial races, the next race at State Park Speedway is one of the track's 3 annual memorial events, kicking off with the Flip Merwin Memorial.
Flip Merwin was a local racer, familiar perhaps more so for his snowmobile racing than his stock car racing, but he made an impact on the lives of those around him in both venues. He was killed in a snowmobile accident at the World Championship Snowmobile Derby in Eagle River in 2003.
Virtually every year since, a race has been held in his honor at State Park Speedway, and it's one a lot of drivers have circled on their calendars.
The flip race is definitely on my calendar. That's one of those that you always want to win. I think I've won it a few times, and I'd like to win it again. You know, and Ralph's a good friend of mine, and Paul, and Flipper, and Gene was a friend and a family. You know, I grew up at their bowling alley pretty much, so we bowled together and horsed around together. All of us were mountain kids.
Flip, you know, like everybody will say, Flip was a very close friend, you know, and he was a very close friend to me, just like a lot of other guys. And I'd love to win that race, and always very proud to run it.
We're so glad you could join us on Fox 55's Fastlane. It is now time for us to welcome in State Park Speedway and Marshfield Speedway announcer Curt Keene for this week's Keene Observations. And Curt, we're already 3 weeks into the show, and we really want to get your opinion on what you've seen so far in the support series.
Well, I'll tell you what, Bryon, been a lot of great racing in the support series. Justin Mondyke, a guy that's won the Snap-on Mini Mods, and he's won the limited late models 2 weeks in a row. He's just been on fire.
That leads right into my first question about Justin. Like you mentioned, pulling double duty in the Snap-on Mini Mods and the Budweiser Limited Lates. Have you talked to him at all about what it's like to do both divisions, both night, and just have success in both divisions?
You know, he's just talking, you know, to me about, you know, all the racing that they're doing. They're going to different racetracks, but he's just graduated high school, and this guy is just impressive. Very nice kid, and just great to be on the racetrack. So.
And the Krieger Insurance Pure Stock division always puts on a great show every week. How do you view the competition in that division?
Oh, I tell you what, that division is just old school, full frame cars, and these guys, they try to win it on lap one. And the last few weeks we've had a lot of excitement, and you know, those guys just put on a show, and they bump and bang, and it's just great racing.
It has been really fun to watch. Another, you know, division that have been fun to watch are the 4-cylinders. There's the mini stocks and there's the mini mods. What's really stuck out to you so far this year at any track in those divisions?
Well, right now, Jerry Brickner, the guy that had fast time every week at State Park and at Marshfield. He's won plenty of features. Him, Greg Blount, putting on a great race side by side this last week. So, and they do it at Marshfield. So in that division, that's the guy that's pretty impressive so far this year.
Seems like Jana and I have this theme every week where we talk about how weather has canceled races, and you talk to all these drivers. How are they dealing with things from that perspective?
Well, I think it's frustrating for a racer when it rains out because you prepare to get your race car, you know, to the racetrack each week, and you know, when you get a rain out, it just kind of wrecks the plan for the week.
I know you've talked a lot about how good the racing has been overall. What's really stood out to you? I mean, there's been a lot of great drivers, multiple winners, but what really overall has stood out to you early on?
I think just at the racetracks that I'm at is, you know, the competition. I mean, we got some of the best racers in the backyard. We've had great side-by-side finishes in all divisions. I mean, last lap passes. I mean, we see it every week, and I think that's what stands out to me every week at the racetrack.
How about some new names? I mean, you know, I feel like this year there have been, you know, throughout the support divisions after the super late models, you know, you mentioned a name like Jerry Brickner. We're talking about a Justin Mondyke. You know, there seems to be a lot of, you know, younger, up-and-coming guys, drivers that are really making a name for themselves this year.
Yeah, and you could go in all the divisions. I mean, we even have the Bandolero 8 to 12-year-old kids. And, you know, one of the guys that's impressive, you got Levon Vandergeest, you got Eugene Gregorich, who won the feature this week. So you could go back to new names and even established names, but, you know, we've talked about Colton Goralski already on the show here this year. So, you know, there's just a lot of names like in the Bandoleros, and, you know, that's off the top of my mind, that's who I can pick out right now.
That's got to be fun for you as you've seen some of these drivers grow up. They start out at that young age and then they move up through the series, and we've seen young drivers have success moving up through the ranks.
Yeah, and that's a perfect example. Derek Kraus, 13 years old. He was a track champion last year in the Bandoleros, and he's even went down to Speed Weeks, the World Series of Asphalt to race. And I mean, those are some of the best drivers in the country, and he's only 13 years old. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, racing in a super late model this year.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even drive a car around the racetrack. That's why I'm in the announcer's booth. But, you know, but we've got really good talent. So, you know, come out to the racetrack and you'll see these young guns show it how it's done at the Speedway.
Definitely. Well, we're glad that you can drive a car to the studio and you can join us.
Right.
So we always appreciate that.
I do, but again, it's been great to be part of the show and finally getting to be on the set. I feel like MG Gajewski or Mark Mackesy, but I only have hair.
Yeah, except for when they tangled up the other night.
Yeah, they did tangle up.
Yeah,
but,
so we won't worry about
but
that.
I do have hair, so I'm going to say that.
Outstanding. That's Curt Keene with Keene Observations. We have much more to come on this show, including our driver interview with ARCA Midwest Tour star Chris Weinkauf.
And our tech tip gives some insight into driver safety. Welcome back to Fox 55's Fastlane. I'm Jana Wimmer alongside Bryon Graff.
After 2 straight weeks at Charlotte Motor Speedway, the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series was back on the road last weekend at the Monster Mile in Dover.
And here is the start of 405 laps at Dover International Speedway. We're going to jump right to the end. 14 laps to go, and Denny Hamlin goes for a wild ride. He collects Kurt Busch on his way back up the track. Heavy damage for both of them. You can see the damage on Busch's right front right there. Then on lap 398, Greg Biffle gets into Casey Mears. AJ Allmendinger, he's coming through in the 45 car. He gets collected in this as well. There's lots of late race restarts, as you can tell, and Jimmy Johnson survives the final one, outdueling Kevin Harvick to take home the sweet-looking Monster Trophy.
I told myself inside the car that you're locked in. This is an all or nothing situation. You need clean air. Do anything you can on the restart to get the lead, be as aggressive as possible. And I was able to get the lead and get control. And then with control of the restarts and having lane selection, that was also a huge advantage for those last 2 restarts that we had. So it all came together for us very late in the race. But once we had our opportunity, we took advantage of it and got our 10th win here.
Jimmy Johnson does it again, a winner, making him just the 5th driver to post double-digit victories on a single track. You see right there the top 5. He was followed by Harvick, Larson, Kane, and Amarola. And rounding out the top 10, Truex, McMurray, Paul Menard from Eau Claire, Clint Boyer, and Jeff Gordon.
A few other notable finishers include Dale Earnhardt Jr. He was 14th, 16th Tony Stewart, 19th Carl Edwards, 36th Kyle Busch. He was involved in a late race accident. And Wisconsin's Matt Kenseth, 39th. He had suspension problems.
Next up is the tricky triangle. Dale Earnhardt Jr. won both races at Pocono last year. Now the question is, can he make it 3 in a row?
You can see the Exalta We Paint Winners 400 on Fox Sports 1 starting at noon today.
Time for another Fox 55 Fastlane break. When we return, we will be joined by a Merrill native who currently sits 3rd in ARCA Midwest Tour points. Welcome back to Fox 55's Fastlane. Bryon, Graff, and Jana Wimmer along with you. And Jana gets to welcome our special guest this week.
This week we welcome ARCA Midwest Tour touring star Chris Weinkauf to the show. Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
Thanks so much for being here today. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much. This is really cool that you guys are doing this.
Thank you.
We're getting good feedback on it, so we appreciate you coming by. Now, you won the State Park Speedway Championship in 2010. Explain for the folks out here how difficult it is to win a championship at that track.
Oh, there's just great competition there week in and week out, you know. Just the families that have been involved in them races throughout the years and the competition that's been there forever. And it's really tough to put everything together for that many races to win a championship. And it was my first championship and unfortunately my only one so far, but you know, we're still gonna keep trying for more. But we've been racing touring star races as of late, but someday might get back there to try it again.
You mentioned the going on tour, you know, with the ARCA Midwest Tour. You raced a lot locally between Golden Sands, Marshfield, State Park Speedway, and now you've gone on, made that transition into a touring series. What has that been like to transition from that local Thursday, Friday, Saturday night racing to the travel and the competition of the ARCA Midwest Tour?
Yeah, we did a lot of races, Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, you know, for a lot of years there. But just wanted to step back a little bit, you know, and enjoy to go into different racetracks. So it's been a lot of fun just the last 4 years just to get out there, go out and see different racetracks and be competitive at them racetracks. So hopefully we're going to do that for a couple more years yet and then maybe come back to local stuff again.
That sounds like such an amazing learning experience. What kind of things are you learning about yourself as a driver, learning about your equipment, and just being out there and to face that caliber of competition?
Learned a lot. You know, I grown a lot over the years, I think. Matured a lot over the years, you know. You race a local division and you get really comfortable maybe at your local track. You win a championship, you win some races, and then you go race with them guys and they kind of step you down a little bit, you know. And the competition is really tough. So we've been fortunate. Won a race last year at Grundy, Illinois, so pretty happy about that. And hopefully we can get in a winner's circle again this year.
That win at Grundy was pretty emotional. Give us the background into that.
3.5 years trying, you know, and all the effort, you know, there's a lot of work that goes involved in racing, and Jana would know that with Chris, but, you know, you're always in the shop, you're always working, so to win that first race, you know, it was just gratifying of all the hard work we did.
And you touched on it a little bit, but a big part of that is some of the competition that, you know, you beat and that you compete with. I mean, there's some big names that have come through that series, you know, since you've been with the ARCA Midwest Tour. What's it been like, you know, having those type of guys racing, you know, week in and week out, sometimes at tracks you've never even been to?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you go to some of them tracks down there and there's local people that come in there, so, you know, it'd be like them coming to State Park. So, you know, it's really tough to get your stuff ready in 45-minute practice sessions and be competitive. So it is, it's gratifying when you win a race like that for sure.
And then sometimes, I mean, you still do come to the local racetracks. You came to State Park Speedway this past week on Thursday night. What's it like then when you get back to those local tracks that you used to race at all the time?
Just a lot of fun. You know, everything wanted to be relaxed last night and just just have a lot of fun. We were celebrating Jay's birthday, and we just want to get out in front of the fans, maybe redeem a little bit from what we had going on at the ARCA race. So, and it started out really good. Didn't have a lot, in the end it was a little bit, tough for us, but can't win them all.
Can't win them all. That's the phrase that's always used in sports. Third in the points this year in the ARCA Midwest Tour. Tell us about how you're doing so far this year and some of the plans that you have for later on this year and how things are going at that series.
Going good. We had a good run down at Ileana in the first 50-lap feature. There was 2 of them. Finished second in the first one, so that was the points for the series. Then we raced for the money, they said, in the second 50, and wound up getting in a little bit of a wreck towards the end of the race, but it wasn't too bad, just a little cosmetic work, and we got it back together for State Park. But off to the Dells, which raced there quite a bit in my early career, so hoping to have good success down there. And pretty excited about going back to Kaukauna this year for the Dixieland 250. So that's always been a big race. I always remember going there when I was a kid with my family, and raced in it when it was back in the NASCAR series. So now to see it come back, I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
The tour has a new, promoter in Greg McCarnes this year. First of all, have you seen a lot of changes? And he's also kind of implementing a rule for the guys that are touring stars, which are the guys that do all of the races within the tour, of going to some other tracks. I think you have to do 6 races outside of the tour schedule. So what is on the docket for those?
Yeah, and that was maybe some of the other reasons we came to State Park. And I think he's trying to get everybody to support their local racetrack. And I think that was kind of what I was talking about, where I grew up a little bit and matured a little bit, and it's like, we're just doing this to have a lot of fun now. And it's good that he did that, because it kind of forced us all to do it. They're racing down at Madison this weekend, and I'd love to be down there, but we decided to just go to State Park because it was close to home.
With you talking about racing at State Park Speedway, and Jana talked about the 6th place finish, there are memorial races on the docket throughout the season. What kind of plans do you have? Are you going to make some plans to come back and race some of those this summer?
Yep, definitely want to make the Flip Merwin Memorial Race, and usually don't miss the Larry Degens either, so we're planning on coming to both of them.
You threw out a name earlier in Jay, and for those people that don't know, Jay Vandergeest is your car owner. Just describe the opportunities that he's given you with, racing with the tour and with the car that he owns, and how that relationship has, kind of blossomed over the last couple of years.
Yeah, it started in 2011, and Jay had, I think, Tim Sauter driving for him. And he approached me at the end of the season, and I had a good deal going with the Kerslings racing their car, and won that championship at Wausau, and it was really competitive wherever we went that year. But it was a little farther from home, so when Jay gave me this opportunity to race for him, it was like, it was kind of, we wanted to do it, and it was to get into the family aspect too. I was away from my dad a lot, and where I grew up racing, and my brother, we always raced side by side. So when he asked me to come, it kind of made it even a bigger family affair, and Jason started racing for Jay, so we wouldn't be able to do it without him for sure. One big, generous guy for sure.
We're going to change gears just a little bit, and you're going to be the first driver that gets to participate in this. We have a new feature that we're introducing where we're going to just sort of in a rapid-fire succession, Jana and I will go back and forth, and we have a list of 6 questions to get to know you a little bit better. So you ready for this?
Sure.
We're going to call it checkered finish, and we're going to see if it catches on. This feels like a really good racing term. All right, okay. Number 1, what was your first car?
Race car was a Monte Carlo.
How about any car? Any car, just your get-around-town car.
An old Ford pickup truck that my dad had on the farm.
Okay.
What would be your dream car?
Probably a 69 Camaro.
What was your first job?
Shearing trees.
Who's your favorite NASCAR driver?
Jeff Gordon, of course.
If you could race at any track at any level, which would it be?
It's a tough one, but I would have to say I'd love to go to Daytona.
Mm-hmm.
And what's your favorite thing to do away from the track?
Spend time with my wife.
She will be very pleased that you said that. Good job.
That's a good answer right there. That's our checkered finish with our 6 questions. And then, of course, the big one. We want to ask you, who are your sponsors? Who would you like to thank here today?
Oh, there's a lot of them that support this. We mentioned Jay before. Jay, Kristen, and Levon Vandergeest, they've always been a part of my racing team. Even before we started racing for them, they were always on the car. So really love to thank Jay, Kristen, and Levon for being a part of this whole thing. Prever Music has been a supporter for a couple years now. Bart and his family have always been there, come to the racetrack, even help us on the race car sometimes. So we'd like to thank him. Another guy that comes to the racetrack quite often is Bill from Professional Drywall. He helps Levon out on his car on a little Bandolero at State Park, so I'd like to thank them. We got Hartleben Farms that helps us out quite a bit. Custom Meats, Schaefer's Oil, and CarQuest in town here. So,
before we move on too much, Jay races full-time at State Park Speedway, so you guys raced against each other on Thursday night. And I saw a little bumping going down the racetrack. You passed him, he passed you. What was that like, and what did you guys say to each other after the race?
Well, you know, it was his birthday, you know, just the day before, so it was kind of funny. You know, he had fast time before I went out there, and then we beat him, and we went across the scales, and Lumpy said, "Hey, I'm supposed to relay the message that you're fired." He said, "Park the car over here." So, you know, Jay really wanted to do it with the family and friends that were there. We were just there to have a good time. And then it ended up in that heat race. We were racing side by side for the win there at the end. So I know that my brother was telling me that they told Jay, you know, give him show him what a 50-year-old can restart like. I teased him afterwards because I said he sure did show me how a 50-year-old can restart.
Very good. And on that note, you mentioned your sponsors. We have a couple sponsors and some gifts for you before you go.
We have a nice Fastlane polo shirt for you right here.
Thank you.
And a $25 gift card to Country Fresh Meats. There
Excellent.
you are. Thanks again for dropping by.
Thank you.
Chris Weinkauf, and we will take a break. We'll have your tech tips after these messages. Just like that, we're into the final segment of Fox 55's Fastlane, and having a great time, as always, here in studio and enjoying our guest visits. Time for us to turn our attention now to taking you inside the cars that you watch out on the track. And Jana has visited with former NASCAR Sprint Cup driver Scott Wimmer. What do you have for us this week? Well,
this week, Scott and I took kind of a look inside the race car. We've done a lot on the outside, so a closer look inside on this week's Tech Tips.
Fox 55's Fastlane Tech Tips are brought to you by Car Parts.
Welcome to this week's edition of Tech Tips. I'm joined by former NASCAR Sprint Cup driver Scott Wimmer, and today we're going to take a closer look inside the cockpit of these race cars. Now, when you look at it right here, the first thing you notice is there's no door.
Yes, no doors on race cars. Major thing behind that is, behind this door skin, there's 4 1 3/4 steel pipes with a plate on it. If a car ever gets into the side of this, you don't want anything coming into the driver's compartment. The other thing with doors, if they get hit real hard, they can open up. So no doors on this, all steel piping, steel sheeting behind this, trying to really contain that driver, make sure nothing can get in to hurt him.
And one of the biggest things that Scott just kind of mentioned is a lot of the cockpit is about safety of the driver. This is where the driver sits. They're going, 80, 100, 150 miles an hour, sometimes faster. And keeping them safe is one of the most important things. And that all starts right here with the window net.
This window net really is to protect from anything coming in, the driver's head, anything like that. So we also need to get out of these cars fast sometimes. So you don't want to be fumbling around, messing around. We've got a quick release latch right here. You just pull that, window net drops down, and you can hop out real quick.
Then you come in and you look at the seat, and this is where the driver spends all of their time once they're in the car. And what's crazy to me is that it goes all the way around your head. Explain to me the safety of these seats and just how important they are.
This has really changed over the last few years. When I first started racing, our seats were real small, real flimsy, no head support. This protects the driver all the way around. If they hit the wall on the right side with the car, this is going to help from their head moving too far. Same thing with the left. If they get into the wall with the left side of the car, this helps so their head can't get outside the window, keeps them kind of contained in here. Seat belts is another very important part. We used to run 3, 4-point systems. Now everything's a 6-point system. You have 2 straps that come up between your legs, 2 around your hips, and 2 over the top of your shoulders.
And when you talk about this seat and how it comes all the way around your head, that kind of brings about the role of a spotter.
It's definitely a really important role. Spotters are kind of the ones that are watching out in front of you and behind of you, letting you know of anything that's happening on the track, whether it be oil on the track, debris on the track, different lines guys are running. But, you know, ultimately the driver's in charge of what happens in the car. You do have some mirrors in there that you can see down the left side of the car and out the back.
And then next we get inside the car, and there you look across this and there's so many flips. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a couple gauges. Can you explain to us what all these do? Because that's a lot more than is in my Mazda outside.
Yeah, definitely. It's really the brain box of this race car. We've got switches to start it. We've got switches to run the fan, switches for brake blowers, just all different stuff. Sometimes drivers like some cool air run of their helmet. There will be another switch for that. We've got brake bias gauges. We can switch our brake bias from front to back. If the car's handling, we have some tuning aids inside the car. The brake bias gauge is for that. And then we have 3 gauges for the engine. We always monitor oil pressure. That is one of the major things. If you lose oil pressure, the motor's not going to run too long. Also, engine water temp and oil temp.
So that's a little closer look inside the cockpit of these super late models. Thank you for joining us on this week's Tech Tips.
That's going to do it on another edition of Fox 55's Fastlane. Our thanks to Scott Wimmer, Curt Keene, and Chris Weinkauf.
As well as our sponsors, Berkner's of Wausau, Flipside Graphics, Country Fresh Meats, and Car Parts.
Remember, you can find Fox 55's Fastlane on Facebook and Twitter. We'll see you there. And for all of us here on Fox 55, have a great week. We'll see you at the track.